I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that.
All right, cool. We're done. Bang. Point on point.
Unbelievable.
We are so accurate, Batman. I didn't even hear yours. That's how good we are.
Cool.
So you're saying there's something wrong with my clapping?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get those cheeks a bit bigger so you get them really booming, you know?
Yeah. Man, my balls are sticky today. Got sticky ball syndrome.
Yeah, women don't understand the sticky balls. They're like, oh, but it's like your boobs, right? Like, it's not the same fucking
An hour and a
thing.
half ago, I was having slidey ball syndrome. This is where you sweat so much on the side of your legs that your balls sort of, you know, they
weird
go in
things, yeah.
between and they slide in between. And now it's
Yeah.
like semi-dried up, and I got this sticky fucking smelly.
Oh, like crusty balls.
Let's sell my penis
Have a
to the
shower.
people.
And that's a great way to introduce this episode. Welcome to
sticky
the
balls.
At Random podcast,
Yeah.
where we learned that Andy has like sticky, crusty balls.
Sticky? No, it's not crusty. Why do you have to put crusty on it?
Well, you said it dried out, so
it's
it's probably got
sticky
some like.
ball syndrome. That's what I have.
All right, sticky ball syndrome. So how you doing, Andy? Other than your sticky balls?
Well, my SBS is clearing up. It's short for sticky ball syndrome. So, yeah, I should be fine in about half an hour. I don't know. I'll keep you guys updated during the show.
I see you got some Fanta there. Worst case, just like pour it down there occasionally.
Yeah, and you
I mean,
just,
it'll make it sticky eventually, but
you
at
just
least at
told me
first
this
it'll freshen.
amazing story that apparently Phantom was created because of the Germans.
That's just what I've heard, man. I don't know if it's actually a fact, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it a fact right now. If it isn't,
You've heard it here first on the At Random podcast.
Yep.
Fanta was made because Coca-Cola refused to send Coca-Cola to the Germans during the war, and so they made up Fanta to send
Yeah.
to the Germans.
The Nazis, in other words.
The Nazis, yeah.
yes.
Because not all Germans were Nazis, you know.
Well, you know. But every German does like the Fanta. You know, that is weird, though. I've had some complaints about some character accents I do, but apparently nobody has any problems when I do the German accent. I don't get why. Maybe they are forever the bad guys.
Honestly, I think to like most of our listeners are American, and I think to them, like Belgium and Germany, they think like Belgium's like a state in Germany.
Well, it could be because, like, we got raped up the ass by so many fucking countries. I don't know. Like, we could be German for all I know. I don't know anymore. Like,
Wow, how the tables have changed.
how,
'Cause you used to
how the-
enslave so many
Ooh,
people back in
no,
the day.
that's not how you say it. You should say how the turntables and then say nothing anymore. That's the way to say it.
How you doing, Batman?
I'm okay. I'm hot.
The other
It's very
co-host.
warm.
Batman, my wife, called Batman because she's saying she's warm, but she's, as Andy pointed out before the show, she's wearing black clothes.
What, is
and-
the sun
thick.
radiating on me right now?
It does-
No,
it
I'm
doesn't matter.
sitting in my apartment. It's just warm.
All right.
I think black clothing has the tendency to,
Yeah, if you're out in the sun, it absorbs more light. Yes.
yeah.
But I'm not in direct sunlight right now, so
There's a lamp burning
shouldn't-
behind you. What's
shut the
light?
fuck up. It doesn't burn.
How's the Batcave doing in this heat? You didn't hear my question? Why the fuck are you looking at me that angry? It's a
What
genuine
Batcave?
question. It's warm. How's the Batcave doing? Is it humid?
Like, that's the thing. I don't get if you're talking about my vagina
I'm
or
talking
my,
about your
my apartment.
Of course I'm talking
Obviously.
about your vagina. Do we ever talk about anything else?
Well, I don't think you want to know.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
But do you know what you do want to know? What we're doing today.
She has
Yes.
she has SVS. Sticky vagina syndrome.
Sweaty vag syndrome.
Yeah, sure.
Some swaz.
So they don't know what we're doing today.
All right.
But we're doing another competition. Remember
Alright.
last time on the nuclear how to survive a nuclear blast? Andy got wrecked.
Yeah, and I
quiz.
will still eat that fish. By the way, that's still coming up. You didn't miss anything.
Yeah,
We
it's just out of stock.
Well, no,
Corona.
it wasn't out of stock. It was in Belgium. It's hard to get. I went to 3 fucking different fish stores. They don't have it. They don't have it here in stock. Every
But
time
they know what you're talking
they
about.
do know what I'm talking about. Every time I say what I want, they're like, "Oh yeah, wait,
Fuck
that's
no.
that's a stinky fish, right?" I'm like, "How bad is this gonna be?" But like, apparently it's impossible to get. I've
smell is
been
horrific.
given the advice by Alex and Alejandra to do this outside if I'm gonna do it because apparently it stinks so bad.
You have to open it underwater. So get a bucket of water and open the container underwater.
Isn't it the idea? Isn't the idea that I'm suffering? So shouldn't I open it above
Do you want to
water?
be sprayed by this thing? Like it sprays out when
Oh,
it opens.
okay.
Do yourself a favor and watch some people eat surströmming on YouTube and stuff.
I will send it later, but okay.
Yeah, we'll send you some links.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'll keep looking, and we don't know what today's punishment is.
Yeah, we don't know today's punishment yet. And also, just on that, we also looked online to buy it, but it was like absurdly expensive. It was like
I got
30
I
pounds or
got I
something.
got a great one. I got a great punishment.
okay, shoot.
I got it. Look, I got this friend that can draw an amazing fucking naked person.
Yep. Okay. I think I know this friend.
What about if the loser has something drawn about them and it's been posted on our Twitter page and our Instagram page?
Sure.
We censored
I'm in,
like
Batman.
it's gonna be fully blown, like naked. Even Batman, dude, you're gonna have so much dicks in you.
Dude. And this material is going to give him so much. Like, this episode's going to give so much material for that picture, too. Trust me.
All right, are we down with that?
We'll do that. Yep.
All right,
let's
I'm
do
too.
it.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay.
Ali, are you
So-
down?
Apparently
Let's
I'm
have
just here
some.
for
Let's have
gluttony for
some fucking-
punishment. Like I don't have to. Like I just get chosen a punishment. Okay.
Well, are you down for that?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's fucking do
Okay.
it.
Oh no, I just remember who you're talking about.
Yeah. Now, you don't have to send a nude to them. They can just draw something using your face onto a body.
Yeah.
Come on. But yeah, now you know.
He's seen
Okay.
me naked. It's okay.
This quiz is about torture devices.
Oh.
So we're going to see what you know, what you think you know about these a few different types. I have no idea how long this episode will go for. Could be quick, could be fucking forever.
All right.
There's, I think, 17 questions, so there's a good mix. Some true, false, so something
Alright.
like multiple choice. I think there's 3 questions where you can get up to 2 points
All right.
because there's like maybe 2 correct answers out of 6 or something. So
All right. But before we start, can I give a little bump to somebody that I've been in contact with? All right, so right before the show, I don't know if I've told this on the show before, but right before I go on the show, I actually go on Omegle and talk to people to warm up my voice and to get like my English flowing and shit like that. Because I noticed that when I jump in and I do it off the cuff of my head, that I have too much a hard time translating shit in my head. And so to help that out a little bit, I go on Omegle and I talk to people. Today I talked to this guy called Steve Haas. He's going to start a podcast with his wife. And I said, like, hey, we're doing good deeds all the time. So why can't it be a good deed of us to plug you on our show? So it's not started yet. But when he starts, he's going to give us a 30-second little short clip for his show. We're going to play it on our show. And he was more than willing to plug our shit on his show as well.
Oh, that's
Great.
cool.
Yeah, Steve Haas, man, thanks for the conversation. I had a good time talking to you on Omegle. I hope the podcast works out for you, buddy.
big shout out to Steve.
Shout out, Steve.
Steve-o.
And now from a positive note to some darker notes.
All right, let's
Let's
do it.
get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So one we all know, right? The Iron Maiden.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know what that is. So an Iron Maiden is a human-shaped, human-sized cabinet,
Yes.
usually made of iron with like a spiked interior.
Yes.
And usually, you put the subject inside, close the door. If they try to move, they get
Stabbed.
basically.
Yeah.
Of course, inspired the British heavy metal band Iron Maiden. The name comes from that. So your first question is, when was the Iron Maiden first thought to have been made? This is multiple choice. You have this. I'll give you 4 choices. 200 BC, so that's 200 before Christ, almost 2,500 years ago. The 11th century, the 6th century, or the 19th century.
6th century.
Batman says the 6th century. Andy?
Can you go over the options again?
Yes. So 200 BC, 11th century, 6th, or 19th.
19th.
Andy goes 19th. He is correct.
Yeah.
Many people believe
It's
it is
this
a common
ancient thing, but
misconception.
it's not.
Yeah,
It's only
exactly. There's a
100 years
big
old.
misconception that it's associated with like medieval times because they're thought of as being like more barbaric and uncivilized. But
Yeah.
actually, the earliest recorded thing was in the 19th century. It's only like 200 years ago. It's not this ancient thing that people believe.
Yeah. I think the oldest ones that actually have something to do with sort of Iron Maiden like is that they, before the 19th century, they had the habit of, when there were truly bad people, they would enclose them in walls. That's the closest you come to the Iron Maiden before the 19th century, is that they would basically mortar people up inside of walls.
And he takes the early lead. Thank you for that extra fact.
Thank you.
And yep, there's no proof of Iron Maidens in the Middle Ages. It's a misconception, basically. Which sort of surprised me because, you just assumed that it's at least 500 years old or something.
Yeah.
So when I read that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, so now we're going to move on. I'm not going to have much detail on the torture devices, really. Just skipping through them. So the next one is a new device. It's similar to an Iron Maiden in some ways. Reports of this device can be dated as far back as 200 BC to the Spartan tyrant Nabis, who ruled Sparta from 207 to 192 BC.
Okay.
And he had a similar sort of machine built. So think about, okay, so this guy, he's like the king of Sparta. He's a tyrant.
Okay.
So the second question is, what type of people was this device used on? Keep in mind, so it's like similar to an Iron Maiden, not exactly the same, but same concept.
Do you have a description of this device, like what it did?
It'll be coming.
Okay.
It's coming. So your choices are political spies, captured enemy soldiers, tax-dodging citizens, or homosexual/deviants.
I know this a little Spartan history. I know that the kids that they didn't want, they would throw off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Shit like that. I know that they only worked with the toughest of the toughest, and women would mostly do politics, which would mean that I would be inclined to go for homosexuality and like the misfits and shit like that.
Okay.
Like the guys that grew up and still weren't perfect
Didn't
enough
fit
to
the
be
mold.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which category is that?
That's like homosexuals/deviants, sort of,
Okay. Yeah, I would say enemies.
Enemies, both wrong. Tax-dodging citizens.
Tax-dodging citizens.
Tax-dodging citizens. And now I will
Jesus
explain
Christ.
what the device was. The device is called the Apega of Nabis because Apega was the wife of Nabis, and he made this device that was designed to be an exact replica of his wife. So they donned it in fine clothing, made it like dressed it all up, made the same proportions, and it had its arms stretched out wide.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it was used on citizens unwilling to pay money. Usually when they were drunk, they were brought in and were told to hug, to like apologize to Apega, which turned out to be this device.
Yeah.
Next question. What happened after the Apega was hugged?
Oh, shit.
A, the arms would close. B, spikes would shoot out from the device's body and like stab them. C, a soldier would stab the victim from behind. Or D, The device was coated in a poison and would poison the victim after contact, like on contact.
I don't know if they were as far as poisoning people, but I would, since you sort of said it's a Iron Maiden-like device, I'd put my money on spikes coming out of it.
Okay, and he says spikes coming out of it, like shooting out of the body,
Yeah,
like
shooting
mechanical.
out of the
piercing.
just
Yep.
or somebody from behind there pushing it out
Yep.
or whatever, something like that.
Ali?
Fuck it, let's go with poison. Let's try.
Ali says poison. You're both wrong. The
Oh,
arms would close.
Okay.
It was like a full mechanical device,
okay.
and the arms would close as they hugged it, like, guess pressure sensor. Someone might have been behind pulling something. I'm not sure, because obviously,
Alright.
it's 2,000 years old.
Yeah.
But the hands, arms, and breasts were all covered in iron nails.
Ooh.
So as the arms closed in, and it had the force capable enough to crush a human body. So it literally would slowly apply more and more
Ooh,
pressure
Jesus.
until they either agreed to pay and apologized or died.
Fuck.
It was one of the first, like, sort of mechanical torture devices
But
ever,
what if
recorded.
the guy apologized while he was giving the hug? Would
I
they
think
then
they
be
could stop it.
Would they then be disappointed and like be fuck,
I didn't get
second
to die.
guy today, fucking asshole.
Yeah. I guess so. Like, yeah, what do you want to do? Do you want to see a guy be impaled into
Yeah.
like mush, or do you want him to pay you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, and they were tyrants. Like this Arpega and the husband Nabis, like they were like ruthless leaders of
No.
Sparta at the time. Like, so
Which,
people hated them.
is what
can
is
see why.
Sparta is known for. Yeah.
Yeah. So Andy's on 1 point, Ali on 0.
Yeah.
So yep, the device was named after the wife Arpega, who eventually succeeded him, Nabis, when he died, or maybe she killed him. I'm not sure. She became a worse tyrant, and
Yeah.
is sort of at the time was referred to as the Queen of Sparta,
Yeah.
and basically like killed anyone that stood in her way.
Yeah.
She had multiple men, even when she was married.
Yeah.
She was like a super dominant woman.
Yeah. This is basically the Karen of Spartans.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's a little bit about that, and now we're going to move on to one we probably all know, the Spanish donkey, or the wooden horse, or another name here, the Cavalletto Squaricapale or something. I think that's the Italian name for it. No idea.
Okay.
So, of course, it's a triangular device mounted on horse-like supports, like little stilts holding it up. The victim was straddled on the device. Weights or restraints were put on them to further weigh them down
Yep.
on the pointy end, and obviously stop them falling off, and would cause severe pain, and usually would stop them from being able to walk again if they ever survived.
Yeah.
Like permanently maimed them.
Yeah.
There was a similar method called riding the rail used during the American colonial period and sort of a bit later on. Question 4 for you.
Okay.
The victim was often paraded through town in this state, and also tarred and feathered whilst on the donkey. True or false?
Amazing.
No. True or
idea.
false?
Ah, no.
Ali says no. They were not taken through town.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past the Americans to do that. They did a lot worse to black people and shit like that. So yeah, I'm
This
gonna.
is the Spanish donkey, or the
No, that's a,
No,
They
it's
didn't
in
answer his
America,
question.
baby. Like these are times that people are just fucking sick. I'm gonna go with true on that one. Tar and feather, fucking parade them around the village. That wouldn't be too far of what they did to other people back then. So I'm gonna go with true.
point to Andy.
Nice.
It was true. They would put them on the donkey and parade them through town while people tarred and feathered them.
Yeah.
It was pretty severe punishment. So Andy takes a 2-0 lead.
What sort of people did they use that on?
I think a lot of it was like, oh, it's coming up a bit later, I think.
Oh, okay.
come back to that. We'll come back to that.
All right, cool.
But straight into another question. This device, this is a true or false. This device was primarily designed for and used on men.
no.
False.
Both say false. That is correct. It's primarily designed for use on women.
Yeah.
So to answer
Actually,
your previous question,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
yeah, it's for like women who committed adultery or self-abortions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time, where people, it was used on men, but it was less common.
Yeah.
It was designed originally for females.
Yeah.
if they were promiscuous or committed self-abortion at home, which of course is against God according to these people.
Mhm.
Okay, so then another question coming back to the American Civil War here. During the American Civil War, a wooden horse was used on Union prisoners by the Confederates.
No idea.
True or false?
False. Fuck it.
True.
Andy says false. Andy is right again. It was used, but it was used by the Unionists, not by the the Confederates. So I have a quote here that it was pretty fucking brutal. I'm just going to quickly read. So this is from a guy called Milton Asbury Ryan, who was a colonel general in the 8th Regiment or some shit. And he said, there were some of our boys, for little infractions of the prison rules, riding what they called Morgan's mule every day.
All right.
That was one mule that did the worst standing stock still. He was built after the pattern of those used by carpenters. He was about 15 feet high. The legs were nailed to the scantling, so one of the sharp edges was turned up, which made it very painful and uncomfortable to the poor fellow, especially when he had to be ridden bareback.
Oh, fuck.
Sometimes with weights fastened to his feet and sometimes with a large beef bone in each hand. This performance was carried out under the eyes of a guard with a loaded gun and was kept up for several days.
God.
Each ride lasting 2 days each day, unless
Jesus.
the fellow fainted and fell from pain and exhaustion. Very few were able to walk after this hellish Yankee torture, but had to be supported to their barracks. So this went on, they did like 7-8 days in a row, like 2
Fucking
hours
hell.
every day to these guys. Yeah, they're fucking
God
brutal.
damn. And now we're complaining about bad prison food.
Yeah, and the dude in Norway, what was he, Andreas Breivik or whatever, he killed like 80 people, complained he didn't have a PlayStation in prison. It's like, bitch, you killed like 80 people, man. Like, what the fuck? And these guys are getting like Spanish donkeyed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's enough on the Spanish donkey and wooden horse. Now we're going to my favorite one. This was fucking insane. The breaking wheel, also known as the Catherine wheel.
It rings
Ring
a bell.
any bells?
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Okay. And just to do a quick score check, Andy is on 4, Ali is on 1.
What did Andy get for?
Andy's on 4.
I am on 4. I got one that I guessed. I got one that was the stool one, which a woman would sit on. Primarily on female, then the other one on that same question, and then I had the first question.
Yeah, exact. Andy has 4 points, Batman.
I have 4 points, Batman.
You're looking like you're going to get some weird fan art drawn of you.
Yeah.
The way this is looking,
Can
so you
I
need to
pick-
bring it back.
Can I pick the scenery?
Sure, why not?
All right, cool.
Put her on a Spanish donkey.
Hey. Flipping people off on a podcast isn't good manners, Ali. Say fuck you or say nothing.
Yeah, sitting there flipping the bird in the camera.
Let the people know how mad you get.
Yeah.
I'm not mad.
So a bit of background about the breaking wheel. It's
Right.
also called the Catherine wheel, after Saint Catherine of Alexandria. She was first mentioned in the 9th century and was said to have lived in the 4th century. So most historians believe she never actually existed. It was just some like bullshit medieval superstition or something,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
torture device got named after this alleged person. They were usually made of wood, very common that they were actually just like a wagon wheel from a carriage or something at the time, just like a regular wheel with iron like
Bars
around
on
the
it.
edges. Yeah. Okay, so here is your 7th question. So Batman, you have time. I think there's 11 more questions.
Yeah,
so you got
yeah,
time to come
relax.
back here. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
What modifications were often made to inflict more damage? So what modifications were made to the wheel? Yeah, so it's just a regular wagon wheel. What did they do to it? A, did they add iron blades, like sharp blades? B, did they use a heavier wood or add more wood to make it like way more? So when they spun it or whatever, it moved quick, like had more inertia and more force. Did they set it on fire? Or did they put boiling tar on it before putting the victim on it to sort of like boil their skin?
Boiling tar. That sounds fun.
Hallie's just going with what she thinks is fun. She says boiling tar before applying the victim. Andy?
I completely agree. Like the tar that shit up and boil the skin off.
Okay. I'm glad you guys liked that one because that was one I made up. That they would put iron blades, really sharp iron blades on the
Holy
wheel.
fuck! All right, cool.
Yep.
Where would
So,
they put this on that wheel?
I think just sort of like around the edges, around the
Okay.
edging, and like maybe up the
And
spokes.
you didn't
I guess you'd call them.
explain. You didn't explain what it does. So explain to the people what it did. Actually,
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. This
Okay.
has there's a flow. I don't want to
Okay.
give too much info, or you might get the questions too easily.
okay.
Now I want you to guess, and the name you can get up to 2 points here. Name the 2 most common ways that you think the wheel was used on people. So there's 6 choices here. If you want me to repeat them again, of course I can. So the first choice you have is they were spun and stones were thrown at them by the public, by an executioner, whatever. The second choice is the wheel was dropped on the victim repeatedly. It's picked up and dropped. C, they were spun and hit with iron bars to break their limbs. D, they were attached to the wheel and then rolled down a hill, basically over and over again until they died. E, they were left attached to the wheel for animals just to come and like eat them, pick them off over time. Or F, they were tarred and feathered and had boiling water thrown on them by peasants. Name 2. You can get up to 2 points here. So this is your chance, Ali, to come back.
Okay, so C.
C is spun and hit with iron bars to break their limbs.
Yeah, that one.
Alice, is that
and
one?
the last one.
And
Animals.
tarred. No,
No,
animals.
tarred and fem.
You said tarred and feathered?
Yeah,
Okay.
tarred and feathered.
I'm gonna go with they were spun and rocks were thrown at them because I know that in the history books people would like to make a big scene of things and people got
Yep.
interacted with it, and so it would come to reason that the audience would enjoy throwing stones at them, sometimes asked for, sometimes not asked for. I think it was just a generally accepted thing at that time to do that. So
Yep.
spun and rocks thrown at them would be one of mine. The second one I really enjoyed, and I think would it be correct is just flick that shit off a steep hill and just let them spin out. And I think you'll find that I'm pretty correct on that one.
I think you'll find you were wrong on both counts. Ali did get 1
Shit.
point, though. The spun and hit with iron bars to break limbs was absolutely correct.
Can I get 1 point for how persuasive I was?
No.
No,
Then fuck off.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not that cheap, some money, sure. But,
What if I show you one testicle?
put a smiley face on it and done deal. Like a winky face with like a Sharpie.
You got it, sir.
Okay, the other correct one here. So this is the 2 most common ways that maybe they did throw rocks at people, but the other one was the wheel was repeatedly dropped on a victim, like just literally picked up, and they were just like
But that's so lame.
they were just fixed down on the. No, it gets
That's
more
so
brutal. Don't know what's coming.
lame. Why
It
would
gets
you
more brutal.
to pick a boulder then? Why a wheel? There's so much fun activities to do with a person tied to a wheel, and you just drop it on
Trust
them?
me, we're getting to some more fun ones. When I
Alright,
was
cool.
researching, I was like, "Holy shit! Like this is fucked up." So they dropped it on them, or like would spin them around and like smash their fucking arms and legs till they broke all the bones. Basically,
Yeah, weak.
were the 2 most common ways.
Fun.
Next question. This is just true or false. The number of spins/drops of the wheel was based on the severity of the crime. So you did worse crime, you get spun or dropped on
Yeah,
more,
true.
or true. And he says,
That
Nah,
sounds pretty reasonable.
false.
and he gets another point, stretches the lead out to 5-2.
Yeah,
It,
because
is true.
the reason why I said it is because, like, I know that back in Scottish, when the Scottish would use a lot of lashings and shit like that, and I know that the severity of the punishment always fit the crime, or like supposedly fit the crime, so it would stand to reason.
Yep, it's the exact same thing here. Usually, like if you were a robber, you would get. It's still reasonably severe, but like if you were a mass murderer, for example, you got significantly more drops or more spins of the wheel.
Yep.
And more time on the wheel. And the idea was it was to make you suffer more and for longer.
Yeah.
And usually until obviously you died.
Yeah.
Wait,
This is basically an execution, by the way. This isn't just like a oh, I like dropped a thing on you once. It's designed to execute the person.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's what I thought as well. Like, that's why it didn't matter really how many times they did it.
No,
That's
it-
what's my reasoning behind it.
It does.
Okay.
But to come back to one of your earlier questions, Andy, about why did they just drop something on someone?
Yeah.
Okay, so for example, let's say if you were a mass murderer, to make it more painful, they would
Yeah.
make you lie down on wooden spikes or nails on a board and then drop it on
so you'd be protruded from the back
you. Yeah. So it was
and then
yeah.
wait on
So I
the-
guess they could be more creative in the ways they fucked you up.
Yeah, they were creative where it counts.
Yeah. In
In
the,
the
how
back.
many like holes can we put in this guy?
Yeah.
So with that information, next question. True or false again? The dropping and smashing of bone, like the dropping of the wheel or the smashing of bones, was usually only part one of the torture. True or false?
I'd say if they picked like the cartwheels of back in that day, I'd say that's pretty false, because if you don't die by that, you have a pretty thick fucking skull. I mean,
Yeah. Ali, true or false?
Well, it depends how you see it, really. Because
Well, doesn't this? It's
no,
just
no,
one answer.
but more. I would say it was just part of the punishment, because usually, obviously, afterwards they would hang up the bodies and put them to shame and stuff. So that is counted as another punishment in a sense.
Okay. Correct for Ali. It is only stage one of this torture.
no.
So she makes it 5-3. She's closing the gap. And there's a couple double pointers coming up.
But
I
can
think,
you
so.
call it torture if they're already dead?
But usually,
the
if you're like on
bodies
the
would be on
border of
display.
dying, they would hang you up to shame you,
Oh.
and then you would die like just hanging up.
Yeah, I think they got this down to an art form. They knew how much.
Yeah.
Like this guy, this size, this fat, this
Yeah.
he can take like 3 drops. And then we can do another thing. So yeah, they absolutely that was only stage one.
Oh, cool. Okay.
If, for example, if you did the spinning of the wheel where they smashed your limbs,
Mm-hmm.
they would then for stage 2 take your limbs and thread them through the spokes of a second wheel. Because obviously your arms are snapped. They can just bend them whichever way, which way.
Yeah. Okay.
And they would put you, like, entangle you in 2 wheels. Because obviously your limbs are just smashed to pieces. And the idea
Yeah.
there, of course, is just the sheer pain
Yeah.
should kill the person.
Yeah.
When this occurred, so when this victim survived to get to stage 2, the victim would then be attached to what? Like so they're still on the wheel, and then they put the wheel on this thing. Is it a cross? The town ramparts, so that's like, the town fencing or whatever, the walls around the town, so others could see maybe. A pole, or onto like a platform, like a gallows, like an to put them on display for the public. What did they attach the wheel to with a person on it when they reached the second stage?
My first thought would be either a pole or on display in town square somewhere.
Okay. You'll have to choose one.
Fuck it. I'm gonna go with public display.
Public display
Seems
for Andy.
rational for them, and back in that day.
The town one around the town.
Up on the ramparts, okay. Both wrong. It is actually just a pole. They would
okay.
literally just hoist them up in the air and just...
Do you have
sitting on
any
a
idea?
big
Was there
wooden pole.
like a designated area for wheel people, or
Yeah,
or
Alex!
or WPs as we like to call them?
Yeah, I think the WPs probably were put on display, but they weren't on a platform. They were just on
Okay.
a pole.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
my god.
Yeah, they okay. And then when they were on these poles, they would then either be cut apart or strangled to finally end their
What
lives.
the fuck? What? Like, that's completely
Just-
unnecessary at that point.
You smashed all their limbs. You
What
like
the fuck?
tied them up like a piece of thread through a
unending.
wheel.
What the
Cut
fuck
apart.
does one have to do to deserve that?
This isn't a
punishment?
question, by the
Ah,
way. This
okay.
is
You
just
stole
information.
one turnip. Fucking to the wheels.
And then let's hack him apart after we chopped, like
Yeah.
broke every bone in his
entire
body.
fucking parade of Nancy's and Derek's after them, like wheel people, wheel people.
Imagine being like a 5-year-old kid and just egging on, like, yeah, cut him, cut the fucker, WP, get him.
You can't do it, Ricky.
Man,
Bite
people
his freaking head off.
And people think video games are bad for kids.
Yeah.
Like, literally decapitating people in the street in front of them.
Yeah. No,
Like-
don't play GTA, kids.
Go tie a person up on a wheel instead.
Yeah. Oh, you
It's
can
more
do
wholesome
prostitution.
entertainment.
You can do prostitution in GTA. We'll fucking ban it.
Let's just go into town square, bro, and start hacking people apart and on display. It's wholesome entertainment for the whole family. Okay, so next question. Most of my questions are about this because I thought it was like incredible.
It's unbelievable how far they pushed it.
Yeah, this is a two-parter. Like you can get two of these right again. So you have two choices here. For the worst types of crimes, victims would eventually be A. So okay, I should clarify here. Like usually this bit where they got tied up in the wheel and stuff like that was if you're like a mid-level crime. But if you did like a really bad crime,
Wait, wheel dropped on you.
it's not the worst. That's like a mid-level. It's like a mid-tier.
Fucking arms intertwisted with the fucking spokes of the wheel,
Yep.
and then chopped to
Mid-tier.
bits was mid-level.
Yeah, that's like mid-tier.
That's mid-tier.
Yep.
That's like the normal setting in a video game.
Yep.
All right. Well.
Okay, so 3 of these 6 are correct, but you only get to guess 2 of them.
Okay.
So yeah, for the worst crimes, they would either eventually be. So I think they still went through the torture, but then they finished them off in the one like some of these ways, where they A, crucified, B, placed above like a fire and just left there, C, thrown into a fire, D, impaled on a spike, E, disemboweled, F, limbs cut off until they bled out, or G, hung.
Disemboweled and put on a spike.
Disemboweled and spikes is out.
I'm gonna go put on a spike and hung above a fire. You know,
Andy
because
gets 1.
hung above a fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't get any.
You got none.
You got none.
Disembowelment.
They're ones
Man,
that I
this-
made up.
I got pictures in my mind of what it's gonna look like
What is
right
the other
now,
one then?
Ali.
Okay, well, so the correct ones were either placed above a fire, thrown into the fire, or hung.
That's so boring.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is after they were tortured as well.
Dude,
Like,
I
they
don't
were
know.
still
I don't know.
tortured.
That-
Like
that's
if you're gonna
boring.
torture someone,
The-
torture someone.
The hanging above a fire is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
I'm pretty sure being burnt alive is like the most painful way to die or something.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not. It's not. If you're thrown in the fire, depending on the amount of heat coming from the fire, you would pretty fastly stop feeling pain. It would like take like a minute to 2 minutes, whatever.
1 minute to 2 minutes of severe fucking pain, feeling
Yeah,
literally
that's
and
fine. That's
smelling
fine.
your
There's
flesh
worse ways,
burning.
like fucking fall into a vat of acid, like the Joker.
Yeah.
That's worse.
See, where I think you went wrong here, Ali, you got to think like back in the day when they believed in witchcraft, they always burnt them.
I'm
So that
just
should be
making it
like
fun for
you-
Yeah, me
myself.
and my
Okay, I
wife.
just
My
want to
wife's-
see disemboweled
wife-
people.
My wife is Wiccan. I had a conversation with her the other day about the whole torturing of witches and shit like that. Man, men had it so fucking easy back then.
She's a witch.
It's like, yeah, it's
Kill
like,
her.
oh,
Okay.
you know, I'm feeling totally in love with you. I'm gonna tell your wife she's a witch.
Yep.
You know,
oh, shit,
she's a
I
witch.
I knocked up the whore. She's a witch. Blasphemer. Burner.
She hexed me with chlamydia.
She bewitched me and I had sex with her. Burner.
But dude, like you
happened.
saying this, yeah, they actually said
I
that.
know.
She
Fucked
fucking
up.
bewitched me and I had sex with her.
Yep.
I
She's-
was flying and I fell and my dick fell into her and she made it happen. Fucking to the fire
Whoops.
stakes with her.
What were you saying that your wife was?
She's Wiccan. She's a witchetty witch. She would have been burned at the stakes.
So would
Is this
Ali.
like her actual belief, or is that just you saying that?
No, this is her actually beliefs.
Oh, okay.
She's not what I would call a kitchen princess. She's what would be referred to in the Salem times a toaster.
I'm just saying, because I'm a bruja too. So
Are you
Well,
a bruja?
I mean, I think you mean she's the toast, not the toast.
She would be the toast. She basically, and like even before she would come out herself as a witch, I would have ran around town and told everybody she was a witch.
Obviously.
Yes.
Obviously.
But hey, Ali, since you are a bruja, as you say, because like, have you actually done magical rituals and shit like that?
No, I don't practice. I just feel energies, and I think.
Dude, can we do an episode on chaos magic and shit like that?
Absolutely.
Like the genuine fucking rituals and all that shit, and masturbation magic and all that fun stuff.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
I'll research that.
It genuinely exists. It's so fucking cool, and it works. But there's a reasoning behind it, and we'll cover it in that episode. But I want to do that. Yeah, future
That's
episode.
good.
Magic.
Quick score check. Andy 6, Ali 3.
Nice.
You've only got 6 questions left here, Batman. You're running out of time to become fan art. Or avoid
At least
it.
I don't have to eat surströmming.
We're going into the next question. So, these people, they've been tortured, they've been killed.
Yes, probably.
Next question. Bodies were left where they were for wild animals to eat. True or false? Like after they died, were they just kind of like left there, or did they do something with the bodies?
Just left there.
Ali says just left there.
False.
Andy says false. Yep. They were literally just left where they were. So Ali gets a point back. They were just left there for animals to eat. And we're going to come into a next question of why. I'm going to ask you why you think first, and then I will explain the answers. Mm-hmm. This again, you can choose 2 here, so you get some chances here. Okay, so why did they leave them? You can choose 2 of these 4. A, to deter others, from committing crimes. B, to shame the family. C, to prevent their spirit finding rest. Or D, because they didn't deserve like a grave or a burial.
So the first one
is to deter other people.
That one and the last one.
Yeah, exactly what I'm gonna say. To deter other people, and because they felt like they didn't deserve a proper burial ground.
Okay. Deter the others is correct. The last option is incorrect.
No.
So you both get 1 point. So it's 5-7 now. So the correct answers here were to deter others, and most importantly, they believed it prevented the spirit from finding rest because they thought that their spirit was not worthy of going to heaven or whatever. So they just left them to be eaten by wolves and carrion and all of that. Now, this is a true or false question here.
Okay.
Now listen carefully to the wording of the question.
Oh, it's gotta be a little viper under the grass, as we say.
No one has ever survived the breaking wheel. True or false?
False.
Okay. And he's thinking.
I'm thinking very hard because you got me scared by saying, be careful of the wording. So I'm trying to catch that little... No one has ever survived
the breaking wheel.
Breaking wheel.
Yeah. Like no one has ever been known to have survived. True or false?
It has to be false. There has to be at one point some breakage and like, oh, fucking, we failed. Let's fucking chop them into bits and shit like that.
Okay. Both correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Some people did survive. Very rare, but people have survived. Somehow. I don't know how fucking unlucky or lucky you are. The other basically folded up like a pretzel and somehow still alive.
Wasn't it viewed back then as well as like when you survived torture, you were cleaned of your debt and it was all fine?
Yes. We're literally about to talk about that, yes.
Oh, cool.
If the wheel fell or broke, it was determined to be intervention by God.
Yeah.
So the victim was released and they were deemed to have fulfilled their punishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happens so rarely that in basically every case, because this mostly happened in continental Europe, so they were almost always then depicted in religious drawings afterwards. Because it was like a divination from God. Yeah. So they would draw this
just
pretzel
with
man.
Fucking wings spanning, fucking murder of 65 kids. God saved him. Let's give him fucking wings and a robe and shit like that.
Barry put one nail too little. And the wheel just fell off.
Peter the pedophile is saved by God, and let's fucking paint that motherfucker. Yeah.
Yep. So they were usually, I guess it's like a pretzel with a face with wings and shining lights behind it or something.
Flying spaghetti monster.
We got 2 questions left. Ali, you were behind by 2 points. So you're going to have to ace this to take it into a tie.
Okay.
Got some creative things in my head, by the way.
Question here. So again, multiple choice. You can only choose one. What is the longest alleged survival time of the wheel? Like how long is the longest time ever? A, 2 days. B, 4 days. C, 8 days. Or D, 9 days.
C.
Ali says 8 days. That's a fucking week in a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The body's resilient. The human body is resilient.
So again, your choices are 2, 4, 8,
I'm gonna
or 9 days.
I'm gonna go with C as well. C.
C.
You know what? No, I had 3 instances where my first idea was right, and I end up changing at the very end. I just did the same thing. My first idea was 9 days, so I'm gonna go with 9.
Winner Andy, 9 is correct. He takes a
Boom.
3-point lead and cannot lose.
Always stick with your first idea, ladies and gentlemen.
It was claimed in the 1500s by a German serial killer that this German serial killer had survived for 9 days, mostly in part to alcohol. People were just filling him up with booze while he was hanging there on the wheel.
No.
Most people believe it's bullshit, like historians, but that is the longest claimed survival time at 9 days. Someone called Bonadius survived, known fact, for 4 days. Actually written down in history books. So, yeah, there's some painful
Holy
last
fuck.
days for some of these people.
Do you have a name of that serial killer?
No, it just said a German serial killer. I didn't have
Too bad.
some of this, like, I guess the details are
It's probably a Hans.
sketchy. Is he like a relative of yours, or?
No. But
Nothing you know of?
I think like every German is probably named Hans. Not to generalize
That's
or
fair
anything
call.
like that, but like.
Very true. Okay, so we're coming to the final question. It's now irrelevant because either way, Batman's having some weird erotic picture drawn of her. Well, assuming the artist agrees, but I'll make sure.
Oh, the
they do.
artist will agree.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he has 2 very excited young boys
Yes.
who's gonna pressure him into agreeing if he doesn't agree. So it'll be fine. Don't worry, Ali.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
drawing
you'll be
will
fine.
happen.
Just thank me for my fucking fans I'm gonna bring in. So calm the fuck
I'm going to
down.
make sure your ass is depicted as a moon. Okay, so the last question here. When was the breaking wheel last used in history? Was it in 1712, 1698, 1841, or 1813?
1841.
1841?
1813.
1813. Well, Batman gets one last point at least. It was 1841 in Prussia.
Good.
Was the last
Good.
believed, like, recorded case of someone being, I guess, WP'd. And it was outlawed in Bavaria in Germany in 1813. So that's why I threw that one in there. So it's a bit of background there for a horrific torture device. And that's it. That's the conclusion of the game show.
Holy
Andy has
shit.
won.
Well, the conclusion of the game show, I think, like, we're 50 minutes in. We could probably talk a little bit more about different guys. Did you know about the Bronze Ox?
Yeah.
Yes, I thought about putting it in, but I was like, and then I found the breaking wheel. I was like, wait, no, they didn't do this, did they? I was like, fuck it. More questions on this.
There's
But the
so
Bronze
many.
Ox, for the people, there's so many good ones, man.
Yep.
Bronze Ox, for the people that didn't know what it is basically it's a bronze ox, and they put people inside of the said ox, and then they would light a fire under the belly of the ox, basically
Boiling.
Basically, yeah, not really boiling because there was no juice in that ox whatsoever. They would just be like, I guess, grilled until death.
Yeah.
Another fucking famous one is
No, but wait, on their bull also, they made a mechanism So the sound of the scream, like it would sound like an actual bull. Like they somehow managed to fucking.
Imagine being the guy that
Yeah.
did the R&D on that. Like, how many victims did he go through? Like, I got to get it just right. It's not quite the right pitch.
Yeah.
Get another one in here. Do it again. I'm going to tweak
Yeah.
some things.
They tweaked like so, like it would come steam out of the nostrils, obviously because
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the heat, but also the sound. It would.
Man, what must that room smell like?
They probably did it.
Besides a
out of
good steak.
Oh, yeah.
like
And that
just
day,
in general,
the
like
other
back in the day, like it just smelled. So.
Yeah.
True. But the other thing with the like brazen ox, it's like that existed in a whole bunch of different cultures, like different
It
slight
did.
variations.
It
It wasn't
did.
just like
Yeah.
one place.
Yeah.
It was like, oh,
Yeah.
everyone's just like, hey, let's make like a metal animal and just like chuck him inside.
Yeah, if you throw a pig
Boil
in a
them.
pan, it'll die. So if you do the same to the human,
Yep.
it'll probably die too. One other one I can think of is I don't know where this was used, but it was used pretty recently. I think Middle Ages or something, was to put a metal bucket on
with
somebody's
the rat?
stomach with rats in it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then they would heat the top of the bucket, so the rat would start to feel heat and would search for the quickest way out. Of course, scratching at the bucket, they would only feel the heat and get scared. So what they would do is find the quickest way out was
And dig.
downwards through the belly of people.
Yep.
And so basically you would die by rats just clawing open your guts,
Yep.
biting and scratching into them.
If you've ever seen Game of Thrones, that is depicted in when they go to Casterly Rock the first time.
Oh,
When
is it?
Arya ends up there. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, so
I never
that was
watched.
actually inspired by real life. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you one that like almost made the list, but I wasn't sure on timing. I would have
Mm-hmm.
added one called the Breast Ripper, also known as the
Oh.
Iron Spider.
Yeah, I know that one.
It was mainly used on women who were accused of like adultery and self-abortion,
yeah,
and just like
yeah.
it was designed to rip the breasts off the woman,
Yeah.
and was made
when
out
you
of
say
iron and
rip,
heated up.
When you say rip, it's not just it's a Yankee yank. It's not
yeah, they,
just
like, pull
gentle.
them off.
Yeah,
They would like hook them in and literally like
yeah.
pull, and they were heated as well, like heated iron. It was like,
Did you ever hear about the bamboo chair?
not bamboo chair? I guess it's kind
Yeah.
of like Punji's spike chair.
It's basically a chair with a hole in it, and the Chinese back in Vietnam to torture people, or the Vietnamese, sorry. What they would do is they would off the first bamboo shoot, like when it
Yep.
becomes a stake, they would just at an angle slice the top off, which would basically make it into a pin that slowly grows through your ass and through your entire body all the way up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a commonly used practice. Another one that was used in the Middle Ages, including here in Belgium, was slamming a nail under your nails. So they would put down your hands and they would put a nail under your fingernail and then just whack it clean off. It was the best thing ever. Man, I miss my Sundays.
Yep.
So,
Just reading about executing people.
Yeah, so that was a very widely known as ripping off fingernails and shit like that. That was widely used. I'm thinking of others I can think of.
I just remembered one fact I
so
forgot about
many.
the breaking wheel as well is that it's been used for about 3,000 years in human
Yeah.
history. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't just a Middle Ages thing. It was like 800 BC through to 200 years ago. They were just smashing people to pieces.
well, in general, there are so many ways to torture people. Like I think, like mankind has gotten so creative.
Yeah, like say with the bull.
over the years.
Yeah, but say with the bull, right? Like how much stuff do they actually learn about craftsmanship and like
Yeah.
materials just from making a torture device?
Have you seen those bulls, by the way?
yeah.
They're beautiful.
Yep, very elaborate.
Yeah. And another torture way that I know was actually used back in the way back machine on friars and on priests and shit like that. If somebody of the clergy was to commit crimes or blah 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 blah, they weren't usually publicly, because you won't find many public hangings of priests and shit like that, because as we all know, the church likes to handle things quietly.
Yes.
If you know what I'm saying. Pedophiles is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yes, we know Cochino.
But basically, if there was something within the church to keep the reputation high of the church, what they would do instead of torturing people is they would seclude people. So one of the ways they did that was, as I said before, in a lot of monasteries around the world, you would be able to find dead bodies within the walls. That was one of the ways to get rid of a bad person. Another thing, and we have a lot to thank for this, is to outcast them onto an island where they have to live alone. Now, one priest in particular did this, and he wrote the best book in the world, which is now called the Devil's Bible. You know the picture of the green Bible written in human blood?
Don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, look it up. The Devil's Bible is like this great fucking big ass codex that a priest wrote during his
Like Outcast.
outcast moment up until he died. And they found that book, and basically what happened, what they think happened was he got so fucking angry at being like thrown out and like being persecuted and being outcast and shit like that, that he started writing the Bible of Satan, basically.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. It was created in
it's
Bohemia.
So fucking beautifully written as well.
Stems from the Czech Republic in the 13th century.
Yep.
Damn, it's fucking... Yeah, this dude was angry. Like, his demons...
Yeah, he was pissed
like,
the fuck off, man.
And you know that when he drew demons, he was like, he named them. Like, this is like the Pope, and this is like that fucking Archbishop wanker I hated. Like, fuck this guy.
And his name was Gregory.
Oh, it's now in the National Library of Sweden on display.
Oh, yeah.
we're
It is.
Cool.
It is. It's a very nice piece of like
You can go there.
piece of history, and it's basically just a guy losing his mind over this, like the isolation of being alone. Because you don't think about that, but long-term torture is like in its purest form is isolation away from everybody and everything.
Yep.
It's like having nothing to do, having nobody to talk
And
to.
especially when you probably live like, for those times, even though they didn't live a luscious life, they were still like much more comfortable than a standard peasant.
If they lived alone, they already had it pretty bad back in that day, let alone if you have nobody to talk to. There was no TV or cell phone back then. Like TikTok wasn't yet a thing.
And they weren't seeing the other brothers at the monastery every morning.
Yeah.
You know, having little stable boys go and clean everything, touch it, and all of that.
But that's the thing, like mental torture is like, physical torture
It's
is
severe.
horrible, but
It's severe.
mental torture, like you won't recover from that. Like
Yeah.
there's no way.
You also
that's
won't
why we
recover
always
from
say-
a WP.
Yeah,
That's
I know,
why
know.
we always say on the At Random podcast, physical torture is fine, but mental torture lasts you a lifetime. There you go.
Apparently we say that now, but okay.
So if you're ever angry at your sibling again, just find a wheel.
Write a Bible.
Don't sling insults at them. Just attach them to a wheel.
Sling rocks.
Yes. Fire,
That's what you should
disembowelment,
Yeah. Create a bronze ox.
all of these things. But whatever you do not mentally torture
If
people.
she has a chair she's used to sit on during lunch period, just drill a hole in it. Put a little bamboo plant under there.
Yeah,
You know,
and then just chain her
make
up for
her
like a few days.
make her feel one with nature. Winkety wink. All right. Well, I guess
On that positive note.
that note.
Do we have a goodest
I'm
boy this
sorry.
week? I'm not sure.
Actually, we don't. I got surprised by the. Oh wait, Steve wrote me something.
That Steve can be a goodest boy. Can he?
Yeah, you know what, Steve Haw, Steve, you're the goodest boy of the week. You're a good boy. He Instagrammed a great steak the other day.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
I
that's a
already
good
like
steak
him.
right there. So yeah, my boy. All right, Steve Hall, you're our goodest boy of the week, you dog. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us over at Ali.
At .random.podcast.
Can you say that again with a little bit more suave?
at.random.podcast. At Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah, like back in the medieval times, if you had such little conviction, we would torture you. Just saying.
Come at me,
She's a
bitch.
witch!
Burn her. Put her on a wheel and then burn her, preferably. I want to see her just like
That's
spinning.
gotta be the at Random podcast new thing of me and Alex now. It's just every time Ali says something.
That's it.
just
That you
accuse
can
her of
do
being
or
a
not.
witch.
I'm adding to the punishment. Fuck it. Like me naked on a torture device.
No. You just look at to have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm not allowing that to happen.
Well, I want to look sexy on a Spanish donkey. Can I not do that?
Sure, why not? And if you want to see that picture, check it out on Twitter at @AT_randompod.
Fuck it. I'm uploading that shit to Instagram too. Ban me, bitch.
You know what? If she doesn't have a butt plug with a tail in that picture and like at least 2 furry fucking ears or whatever, and some jizz on her back with Alex standing behind her naked, then I'm not want to be any
You know
part
what?
of this.
She can be sitting on the Spanish horse, on the Spanish donkey, while someone drops the wheel on her. Just like slice her in two. And on that mental image, we'll catch you next time. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Did you say your Twitter handle?
Yeah, I did. You don't listen. I
No,
just fucking burn the heretic.
She's a witch.
She's a witch. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.